Life is good because you are in control with psionics. But what is psionics? Why do you need it? How does it work? Well, I'm going to tell you about that this evening. You see, psionics has been around since about like the 1950s. And it started out as a science fiction concept wherein human paranormal activities could be applied to engineering concepts or vice versa. So it means basically mind and electronics or mind and machines. We call it machine magic in some cases, or techno-wizardry. But that's not really what the core of psionics is about. That's just sort of the exoteric definition of psionics, is that it is mind and electronics. What psionics is, outside of theory, but instead in practice, is mental power applied to the paranormal and supernatural. It is mind magic, bypassing the need for ritual. So in psionics, we go back to the core of ourselves. Rather than think of ourselves as magicians, new students should think in terms of being sort of like a monk. We're going inward, going back to our most basic meditation, and then working our way back outward, expanding ourself. And so we make ourselves super empowered within, and then we begin to expand our mind outward from that point of reference, and we change our lives. Things get better for us, because most of the time people are operating in the reverse from what I just told you. You're beginning from the outer world and bringing that into yourself. And with that, a lot of times comes all this pain and anxiety and frustration. So I'm always teaching my students to do the reverse of that. Begin from within. Master locking into that core of yourself, and then gradually expand yourself outward. This changes your reality. And then, albeit, we can move forward with expanding our reach and our power through the application of some machines. So we would begin with ourself, myself, yourself, branching outward, and then coming to various gadgets and machines to build that relationship with the technology. And that's really the psionics proper, I guess you might call it that. How does it work? Well, it works with a change of attitude. And I'm not talking about the attitude that you might have towards other people. Rather, I am speaking of the attitude we have inward towards ourselves, and then also our approach to working change in conformity to reality, which is basically, that's what magic essentially is changing that conformity in reality to the will of the magician. Where a lot of people make an error or a mistake in learning psionics is jumping straight into working with sigil magic and medieval grimoires. Now, why is this possibly a mistake for some people? My view of this, and this is based on my experience going some 30 years back, is that when we introduce a sigil from various spirits into our own energy field, we are not the ones in control of ourselves at that time. We're sort of signing over, like petitioning, or signing a contract over, saying, I license my physical and mental being over to name of spirit to change some of my abilities for me. And so anything that you're putting inside of yourself, you need to know a little bit more about it. And that's where things like dowsing come in real handy. But it's better if we begin very strong in and of ourselves before we start approaching the various magical patterns, spirit names, and sigils, and egregores in more complicated areas of magic. Start very simple. Begin with yourself. Build up your power, self-empowerment, and then move forward with competence, which will later build you the necessary confidence in working with psionics and branching out your power, extending your reach. But we shouldn't extend our reach beyond our grasp and understanding. The other area where working with sigils and grimoires could be perhaps biting off too much too soon is when we employ the sigils to work upon other people or the environment, regions, locations. Because again, if you begin that way, you are not the one in control. The spirit's working the assignment for you, your AKA employees or contractors, we might refer to these spirits as. They're in control. And if we don't know too much about those spirits, and we're working with some very powerful ones, we may be working with them in the wrong manner. As you see, some entities are meant to be teachers. They're not meant to be our servants, sending them out into the world to do things. The servants would be considered servitors and lesser spirits, so we would work with these types of entities very differently than we would with those entities, perhaps say associated with the or directly tied to grimoires such as the Megaton, the Lesser Key of Solomon, or working with the Claviculus, the Greater Key of Solomon, the book or the Infernal Dictionary, and so on and so forth. So it's really about, psionics is really about beginning with our self-empowerment first before branching out into all these other complicated areas such as radionics, advanced psychotronics, and techno-wizardry. I mean, you might get lucky working with some of these machines, but I think it's very important to begin at the core of ourselves, sort of like we're, training up at the white belt level in Kung Fu or Karate or Judo, Jiu-Jitsu, whatnot. We want to begin at the beginning, so that as we work our way out, we're not wasting our time. We're becoming stronger. And as you branch out, you're going to become a mastermind, a powerful influencer, an influencer in world events, but more importantly, a controller of your life and destiny. Because you're not signing over a contract to the so-called fates, to the archons. You're taking control. And that's why I always say life is good because you are in control with psionics. And the way we make ourselves more powerful is we keep the magic high. We learn techniques to practice, and we repeat these techniques, at intervals, monthly, weekly, and so on, and we build up our strength. And that's what psionics is. Why do you need psionics? And what can it do for you? Well, we live in a world where essentially everyone wants to control what you think. Then they want to control what you do and what you say and what you believe in and how, basically how you should live your life. That's one thing we want to change right away. I think you want to live your life the way you want to live it. So that's one thing psionics will help us to do, is to live our lives the way that we want to. We don't have to be somebody else's patsy doing what other people tell us to do. Another thing psionics can do for us is allow us to have greater spiritual experiences in the privacy of our own home without having to go to an interpreter. And you might be asking, what interpreter? Well, a priest, a reverend, a pastor. The need for someone else to interpret the meaning of spirituality is no longer valid, or it is no longer necessary, because with psionics you have a direct experience, and that is available to you as you begin the path to mastering psionics. Plus, it's a whole lot of fun. We learn a lot about ourselves as we begin psionics, and you may find out that you are far more interesting of a person than you ever knew. And there's all these talents that you can find within yourself and amplify these talents, really change your career, boost your business, your love relationships, and other relationships, whether these relationships are purely romantic, if these are business relationships, or simply recreational, and friends and so on. And we can bring people to us whom we really want to meet. I've done this many times, where I've brought people whom I've wanted to meet into contact with me, because they understand the process of building up that power and then branching out and working with psionics. So I want you to remember that life is good because you are in control with psionics. So learn psionics. Begin by reading Keep the Magic High, the ebook. Download that for just $4.99. And that will give you the overview, the terminology, how to build your own lab, and some basic meditation. And then when you're ready, take the next step and read through the materials, listen to my audiobooks. While you're working out at the gym, driving in your car, lying down for a relaxation period, drinking some coffee, listen to some audiobooks. And if you want to train up more, I currently have a club for psionics training where you can get all of my insider exclusive materials. And it's best to join as soon as you can, because you never know how long I will be teaching some of the most secret arts of psionics, both the beginning and intermediate levels of psionics right now at Verloc.club. But I do suggest beginners start by going to Verloc.com/shop, purchase Keep the Magic High, and if you like, subscribe to my newsletter so that you can get the latest and the greatest in the world of psionics self-empowerment. Yes, life is good. Life is good because you are in control with psionics. Alright, so next time we have this merry gathering in the hallowed hours of the evening. I want to remind you all to keep the magic high. This is Herr Dr. von Verloc, signing out.